Mark Rogers TV going to the Big Ten, talking every positional unit across college football. We stop at Nebraska. We have to go with Brian Towle. He's our guy with Corn Nation to talk up the defensive front for the Huskers. Man, you lost a few guys here. So along the defensive front, Maliek Collins, not going to play right away, but signed with the Dallas Cowboys. Vincent Valentine, after 4 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, he's gone on to the Patriots. Let's start with the end position, rush the passer, guys who are going to get in the backfield. Who's going to make some plays this year?
First guy you look at is Freedom. I'll say it one time so nobody else has to say it. Maliek, the sophomore out of Greenville, Missouri. He was originally a tight end, recruited by Mike Riley, but word is his hands didn't catch up with his speed, so they put him at D end, and he seems to be pretty good at it. Kind of a breakout game last year against Southern Miss. He had the game clinching sack against a team that ended up having a pretty decent offense at the end of the year. He's kind of growing in a little bit. Has had some health issues, definitely, but a guy that Nebraska's kind of banking on. And another guy that they're kind of going to bank on this year is a redshirt freshman out of Omaha Central named Quayshon Neal. He's 6'7", 270. Built like a brick. Guy that, they held back last year just because they kind of wanted to get him a little leaner, a little bit stronger. Another guy you're going to look at, one of the 2 guys you're going to look at, the Davis twins, Carlos and Khalil. One's going to play D tackle, the other one's going to play D end. They're both 6'2", 290, out of Blue Springs, Missouri, the Kansas City area. Really good athletes. They're both Big Ten track and field gurus that you can look at. The other guy that I'm looking for, who now becomes the senior member on the bunch, is Ross Zuris, the 5-heart guy out of Plattsmouth. A little smaller, 6'3", 255. Kind of interesting to call him smaller, but in the whole grand scheme of things, he's probably the smallest D end we have there, say for maybe Cedric King, the sophomore. But he's going to definitely have to take up some slack for guys that left, like Greg McMullen left. Trying to get back to something that maybe Nebraska had when they had Randy Gregory, when they had a formidable pass rush. McMullen lived off Gregory being in the game. Now there's neither one's gone, and someone's got to step up and actually take the bait. It kind of depends on that will help Nebraska's pass defense, which was really kind of poor to begin the year last year. This D-line has to get to the quarterback. They did a great job against the run. They'll probably regress a little bit against that, but John Perella, the former NFL player and Husker great, is going to have his hands full trying to figure out what works in that aspect.
So just to give some numbers to what you talked about and some of the players you ran down there, Zuris, as you mentioned, coming into his senior season, 9 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks last year. Freedom, very impressive as a freshman, only 21 tackles, but 7 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. So when he wrapped somebody up, it was usually in the opposing backfield. The Davis brothers, Carlos, 30th rated defensive tackle coming out of that 2015 class, and Khalil Davis in that top 50 range as well. So you're in a run-first division, as you well know, Brian. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Justin Jackson at Northwestern. Who are the tackles that are going to have to get the job done?
Tackles is going to be kind of interesting. You lose, Nebraska was kind of whispered to go to a 3-4 this year. Reason being number of linebackers that they had, and the fact that defensive line recruiting last year really wasn't good. There was no D tackles taken in the 2016 cycle. There was only one defensive line in a period. That was Quayshon Alexander. He'll probably redshirt. The guys you're looking at to step up, the 2 seniors right now, you're looking at Logan Rath and Kevin Maurice. They are I don't think Rath starts. I think Maurice starts. Kevin Williams could have probably started in Nebraska, but he decided to split and do his own thing. The guys you're looking for, Peyton Newell, 6'3", 290. It's gonna be a sophomore out of Hiawatha, Kansas. Kind of got to step up. Really kind of rusher guy. Should be able to get something done. Another guy you're looking for is Mick Stoltenberg, 6'5", 290. He's sophomore also out of Gretna. Nebraska's really young when it comes to these guys. A Davis will help as well. Don't expect Nebraska, in the passing down, Nebraska's going to be probably a 3-3-5 type of team. And that sounds odd to people, but they have their linebacker depth probably you could stand somebody up and send him as a pass rusher. So D tackle, look for Maurice to probably have to step up a little bit. Finally, the Orlando guy. Like I said, the Davis twins have to step up. Peyton has to step up. Stoltenberg has to get healthy. He had a knee issue last year, but it sounds like he's good to go. Really, guys that need to just be there, and and there's a possibility of one more guy coming in, Steve Towle. Probably butchered it. Interested grad transfer out of Utah. They just finished up classes this past week. He visited Nebraska. He visited USC. We'll be probably making a decision soon. If he goes in, he's an automatic starter probably on that defensive line. Granted, it's a one-year stopgap, but Nebraska was looking JUCO also last year to fill this. Couldn't really find anybody that would fit both grade-wise and playing-wise. So he would be probably the best thing to get until Nebraska can really get one or two JUCOs and one or two guys this coming recruiting cycle.
And Utah's turned out some of the better defensive line play in recent years in college football. When you look at this group, when you run down the numbers and look at the track records of these guys, it seems about half and half split in regards to complete unknown commodities and guys that have a track record. They're not superstars, but they have a track record. They've been somewhat productive. So what's a realistic expectation of how well this defensive line is going to play this year?
I think they're going to be a little less better than they were one of the better run defenses in America. I think that's probably going to regress a little bit early on. Maybe it'll get better. The one thing Nebraska needs is pass rush. They need to get to the quarterback. Giving him the reason that there was multitude of reasons that the secondary failed last year, but one of the reasons is when you have 5-6 seconds to get the ball out and something's coming open, that's the big issue. Nebraska needs to get back to having the Randy Gregory, the Greg McMullen, the guy that can get through. We're used to having Ndamukong Suh, Jared Frick. Valentine was actually really good at a pass rush for a big guy. Kevin Williams probably could have started and shown he can play in the NFL. They're all gone, So Maliek Collins at times got lazy, but at the same time, when he put his mind to it, he accomplished pretty much what he could, and his talent level is good enough to go the second day of the draft as long as Valentine. So there's something that has to be said about what you're replacing, and Nebraska has to get better in the pass rush. If the pass rush improves, I think the linebacking crew helps out with the run a little bit. Like I said before, you can expect Nebraska to go with three-man fronts on passing downs with a rushing linebacker probably. Something's got to be done to change the pass rush at Nebraska for more success. It should come. The talent's there, definitely. It's probably not as talented as what's behind them coming in, but the talent behind them can make them better coverage, better assistance and everything. And if that happens, I think the defense grows as a whole.
All right, Brian Towle from Corn Nation helping us break down the Nebraska defensive front. All right, Brian, thanks for the time, man.